Dodgers #1 prospect, Dalton Rushing, joins the show. Dalton, how you been living this offseason, my man?
It's been good. It's been good. Been in the warm weather, traveled a little bit, but ever since the new year, it's been kind of into a new level and get ready for spring training.
So you told me before the show you're in Florida, but you expect to get to Arizona a little earlier than
Yeah.
typically?
Yeah, like a week early, probably early February. I'll be out there.
Yeah, and you look at where you're at. I mean, I know you see your name, #1 Dodgers prospect, and just heading into this season, a lot of talk that 2025 is going to be the year. But just as far as the process goes, talk to me about your off season, just how you spent it getting better.
Yeah, it was more focus, defensive side of things. Obviously, there's been I don't even want to say a question mark. I don't think it was a question mark. I think it was more see what we can do to get him in there as soon as possible. So, yeah, there's been a little shift with that, but a lot of catching work this offseason, and just being ready, like I just mentioned, for whatever opportunity gets in front of me.
Yeah, and just before we kind of get into just kind of like the position, kind of where you're at in the box, all that great stuff, just from an excitement level, knowing that, hey, this really could be the year that you realize that dream and you make your debut for the Dodgers. Just what is the mindset heading into that, just knowing that that's a very real possibility?
Yeah, it's much easier being the Dodgers for sure. You know what you're getting into. You know it's surrounded everywhere, every corner you look in. You're surrounded by guys that are not only playing beside them going to make you better, but they're going to make sure they can do anything in the moment to help you out, make you better as a player early on in your career to carry that throughout your whole career, really. And that's something I'm excited about. I think I'm starting to become more and more comfortable around those guys, and obviously that's one of the biggest pieces. And yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, it's a big year. I'm excited, but no really change of mindset last year opposed to this year. It's really just go in and do my job and whatever's put in front of me, make sure I continue to do my job no matter what level.
Yeah, and you talk to people within the organization and they say he's such a great hitter. I mean, he's versatile. He can do a lot of stuff on the field, but it's really this guy's a leader too. The DNA, the intangibles are off the charts. I mean, as far as this organization and their willingness to win and your hunger to win, just talk about how that aligns.
Yeah, it's ever since 22 really. I got drafted, kind of realized very quickly like the Dodger way is the winning way, and that's something I've tried to surround myself throughout my whole life really. Going to college at Louisville, that was kind of similar situation. Going to Louisville, it was winning tradition. It's really all I've been raised through in the game of baseball, and it's something I'm very blessed. Obviously, you don't get to make that choice of who drafts you. I was very blessed it being the Dodgers, getting into a winning culture, a winning franchise, and yeah, it's something I'm excited about. You kind of you take on the leadership roles as they approach themselves, and I don't. I mean, you look at a clubhouse, a lineup like that, a rotation like that. There's probably very little leadership that needs to come out of a 23-year-old playing with some of these guys, but I guess on the flip side of things, it's really just my job to show the maturity of that level or at their level and show them that really you can come to me just as if I can come to you. You know, I'm probably going to be coming to you more than you come to me. But I mean, every baseball player knows that you can learn things from younger players. You can learn things from obviously the veterans of baseball. It's no like in particular player that really changes anything.
Yeah, and as far as just this offseason, you of course want to win. You're with the organization
Yeah,
that is as all in and committed to winning as any organization, really, in my opinion, in
correct.
professional sports. And you see what they've done. I mean, they've
Yeah,
added big pieces, and kind of the talk around Dodgerland this whole entire week has been surrounding a guy like a Roki Sasaki. I just always kind of
yeah.
wonder, someone like yourself, you're doing work every day. You know you're about to go for the long haul for the next 6, 7 months every single day. Do you pay attention to all these kind of ins and outs of the rumors and the players they're going after? I mean, it's kind of tough to avoid it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you see it everywhere you turn. Any sort of social media. I mean, even ESPN. ESPN's sending out updates. It's like you can't get away from that kind of stuff. I mean, I think it's pretty exciting. It puts obviously the organization out there. the level of, I don't want to say recruitment. It's not really a recruitment process. Some people call it that. It's more of where that player wants to play. And you've seen every player's piece on it. It's he's going to play where he wants to play. So I think it's very exciting for the organization for sure. Like everyone's mentioned, it's a dynasty. Like this is they're going to win for a very, very long time, and that's just kind of how it is. So make the team the strongest you've ever seen. If you can do it, why not?
Yeah, and you've seen some of these pitchers get developed in this organization, and
Yeah.
you've been behind the dish. You've seen all the talent. That's kind of been one of the big, really, boxes that the Dodgers check off. They check off so many boxes, but
Hmm.
one of them is, okay, they're going to take talent. Either it's an established star, either it's a young player coming up through the system, and they're going to find a way to have that guy optimize his skill
Yeah.
set. From your standpoint, just kind of seeing that up close and personal, what would be kind of your pitch to Roki Sasaki almost as, okay, this is what this organization does for pitchers, and you kind of have seen it firsthand?
Yeah. I mean, I've heard a few guys talk on it, and it's a very cliche answer. Everyone knows the development. And I think literally the best way to put it was kind of, I saw Glassnow on a podcast the other day, and he said a similar thing. They're going to make you the best version of yourself. So there's no better place in baseball to develop other than here. You can be at your very best of your career, and they're still looking for ways to increase, I guess, your talent level, your execution level, whatever it may be. Like there's always a piece to add on in a sport. So I think that's something the Dodgers do really well. And him being as young as he is, and he's going to have a really long career in the big leagues. So I think it's a clean cut answer. I mean, you kind of see what's in front of you. You understand, hey, this good farm system, the guy signed for a long time. This team's going to win for a really long time, and I'm also going to develop. It's a win-win situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And what is kind of the unique challenge of catching a guy that throws 102, that has a splitter that drops 35 inches? I mean, how long in your experience does it take to kind of develop that rapport and chemistry with pitchers that have nasty stuff? Because you've caught some as well.
Yeah, it takes a minute. It's more like catching's all like getting comfortable with a guy is all like muscle memory and repetition. It's like the more you see it, the more you're gonna like understand how to react, the more you're gonna understand what it's doing. Even the bad ones, some of the good ones, everything moves differently. So it's like it's more repetition than anything. You see a guy multiple times, you just become comfortable with everything that he's got. So that's honestly the most fun part of catching is getting comfortable like that with pitchers. But yeah, I think it's something that matters 100%.
Yeah, and I think kind of the narrative with you kind of during the season last year was, oh, is he going to play more left? Is that where
Yeah.
where his home is ultimately eventually going to be? But then Brandon Gomes told us at the winter meetings that, and I want to get the quote right, he said that if he continues to hit, we'll find ways to get him onto the team, and that you are athletic enough to go kick out to left field and play some first
Yeah.
base, but right at the core is how you're progressing as a catcher. I mean, what did it
Yeah.
mean to kind of hear that? Look, it's still about you as a catcher moving forward, and
Yeah.
that's kind of the focus.
It's a good thing to hear 100%. And obviously the other part that he touched on, that's what I'm trying to do at this point. It's really like, how can I show them I'm ready for that level? I think it's more from a defensive side than anything. Think the I think I don't really think they're too worried about the bat as much as they are, hey, is he going to be comfortable wherever he's at on the field? And geez, sorry about that.
Very good.
And I would assume that repetition, like I said earlier, behind the plate, that's your biggest piece. So like the more time you have back there, the more comfortable you're going to get. And I think that's something they will have to see really in spring training. But ultimately, like my mindset on it is, yes, I want to be a catcher. I think I can be a catcher long term, and hit to go with it. But also, it's like, all right, you have to get up there in order to stay up there. So it's whatever, I guess, opportunity proposes itself in front of me. It's just waiting for that moment to take advantage of it.
Yeah, Don, how big of a challenge is that for you to know that kind of your ticket to being a part of this team is that versatility, right? I mean, you got Will
Yeah.
Smith here, a fellow Louisville Cardinal for the long term,
Hmm.
but you did play 278 and thirds innings in left field in the outfield spots. How big of a challenge is it to continue to get better as a catcher while you're also learning to play that everyday outfield position more?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it a challenge, or I would call it a challenge. I wouldn't call it like mentally frustrating
Got it.
or anything, because I think of it more as just like you're showing up to work and this is another opportunity. Look, it might be a little more challenging as far as like understandment, but like I be athletic out there. They throw me in left field. Was I the best outfielder wherever I was? No, by no means. But like I continued to get more comfortable every inning I was out there, and I think that was the biggest return I got from it. Just understanding that hey, I can go out there and I can do it. So yeah, like I said, it's whatever proposes itself the earliest, the soonest, whatever way I can help on this team. I'm just going to take advantage of that opportunity. And down the road, if catching's the true piece that they want to hold on to, then we'll cross that bridge.
Yeah, of course, we got to talk about what you do at the plate because as a hitter, you're dynamic. The numbers, they tell you that, okay, this is someone who, I mean, a 15.4% walk rate. I mean, the slug is there, the bat to ball is there. As far as where you're at as a hitter, how do you assess kind of the year you had last season? And was there any area of focus that you kind of pinpointed this offseason to continue to grow that part of your game?
Yeah, I think last year I just played the game a little more, with a little better understanding of what my job was, and come to realization very soon, like my job's to drive in runs, my job's to produce runs in the first place. No matter what that is, situational hitting, that's something I take a lot of pride in. I did that a lot better this past season than I did in 23, and I think it showed. Had better power numbers in 24 than 23. I think that was just a little freely baseball and understanding when to take your shot, you know? There's always baseball, like double A, triple A, you see different pitchers, you see different style of pitching. And so I think that adjustment getting into triple A was a little more refined. You had to put a little more focus into what the pitcher was trying to do to you opposed to what you were trying to do, even though your objective of what you're trying to do at the plate should never change. That's really how I viewed it, and it was a good part of the development for sure. You see guys, every single type of pitcher you could think of in AAA. Really, you got the guys that throw 100 and the guys that are just hanging on. So it's pretty neat. But that was something I kind of learned throughout the end of last year. The hitter, that hey, it's like you're playing chess, not checkers here. You know.
Yeah, and it feels like it's kind of one of those things where you continue to have success at every level, and you're at a point where it's like if you just replicated those numbers in the show, you'd be a star player. Is there somebody
Yeah.
that's like, okay, I just need to get there to start the process of facing big league pitching consistently, and then kind
Yeah.
of what do you think heading into this year? Let's say if you start the year down in AAA, are you trying to accomplish early on that gives you a better chance to have success right out of the gates against big league pitching?
I'm just going to compete. Like it sounds very, very cliche, but that's really the only way I know how to hit is like you step in, it's you versus him. Um, the outcome that's for you to take what you want from it. But if I'm in AAA, I'm seeing 87 every day. It's going to be the same way if I'm in the big league, seeing 97 every day. It's to this point, it's you understand you can hit it. It's now like to an execution degree, like these guys execute. You just like I said earlier, it's chess, not checkers. You have to understand what they're trying to do to you before they get you, you know. And
Yeah.
I don't want to worry too much about the jump. I really just like I said, I just want to go compete.
Yeah, 100%. And as far as kind of making that jump and playing for guys like Dave Roberts, how excited are you to potentially play for Dave Roberts? And just kind of what's the communication been like with you and Dave so far?
Yeah. Relationships like very short, of course. It's not like in depth, like obviously some of these veterans in that clubhouse. I've got to speak to him a handful of times. I got to spend a little bit of time with him during the postseason last year. And I think that was the coolest time. I got to play like scrimmages, whatever, taxi squad grouping, all that stuff. Like that was cool to just be around those guys around that time of the year. The cool things that are going on in their lives, I'm getting to be a small little piece of, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I had a few conversations with him, and it's like I admire his like desire to win. I admire his fire that's deep in, but like you don't really see it like you do in some managers in baseball, and it's he doesn't really express it as much. But when he does, it's I feel like it's the message gets across a little more. So from the outside looking in, it's very exciting for sure to play for a guy like him.
Yeah, I remember last year during the postseason run, Dave said that this was the first team where he felt like every single guy was one of his guys as far as how they went about and played and their compete level. I'm just thinking, oh, that's Dalton
Yeah.
Rushing too. I mean, everything that people say about him, he fits that mold perfectly. But talk about that experience though, just kind of being around these guys and during this championship run. And was there something that, I mean, it was an epic run, right? I mean, you come back down to the Padres, you beat the Mets, you beat the Yankees in Game 5, of course. We got the sticker here of the Fox thing for Game 5 when they were down 5-0. So we got one. I'll send you
Yeah.
one of these.
Yeah.
But was there something you took away from that championship run that, whether it was inspiration, motivating you, just something you took away seeing these guys accomplish that?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, obviously, I didn't get to see behind the scenes as much as they did, like firsthand. But it was pretty cool to just see like the molding of everyone, the way everyone acted around each other. It was a very loose environment. That team, I could only assume from early on, even to late on, it was very, very loose environment. So I thought that was pretty cool. It's kind of like you think back into a college clubhouse, and it's like, all right, everybody's laid back, messing with each other. You're not thinking about the things you don't think about is, oh, this guy could be half my age. Like everyone was getting along with everyone, and I think that was pretty cool. And they showed it. They displayed it very well on the field, off the field, and I think that was the coolest part. Everyone played freely, and I feel like that last little bit of like grit kind of kicked in through the last few games of the Padres, and that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, that championship run is not going to get old, and hopefully you'll be a part of some of these
No,
in the future as they, like you mentioned at the top
absolutely.
of the show, they're looking to create a dynasty, and this organization is focused on doing that. Now, has there been any message from the organization as far as where you're at now and heading into next season, as far as get ready for this, or just kind of course, we talked about the catcher and preparing for that, but has there been any message from the organization about where you're at right now and the plans for you in 2025?
No, I think the bigger picture plans are very put out there. Everyone kind of sees the bigger picture plans. I think for me, it's like I mentioned earlier, how soon can that be? Like, how can I press the envelope the soonest? How can I show up as ready as possible in spring training? Force my own hand in a way. And I think the conversations that we've had are very, hey, like this year's a little different than last year. I'm not coming in here to get comfortable with the guys. I'm coming in here to stay comfortable with you guys. Like that's kind of the mindset for me moving into this camp, and that's kind of the message that I've got. I appreciate that. It puts a little edge to it. But at the same time, like enjoying being around these guys at this time of the year. It's obviously a fun group, a talented group, a lot of guys to learn from. Yeah, the message is basically just come in and compete. Kind of the thing that I've said the whole fall, and that's my biggest, I guess, my biggest thing that I'm going to take into spring training is I'm treating it as if I'm 100 games in.
Interesting stuff. I mean, you gotta love that because I mean that certainly has to be just perfect for you to hear, right? Knowing that you're that guy, knowing that this is that organization. Now, as far as just the moment itself, have you allowed yourself to think about, oh, this is who's going to be in attendance, this is who is going to be there, kind of just the experience of kind of whoever's there for you to kind of experience that you making your debut?
Yeah. I mean, that's something like I've had to, I guess, in a way, kind of stay ready for. Kind of did it to myself last year. Just kind of, hey, have this in the back of your head. Like you don't know when this time comes. It's just kind of part of baseball. Yeah, I've thought about it. It's more just like my family's there. I know that. And besides that, it's like, all right, I'm surrounded around 8 guys and 15 guys in the dugout or 10 guys in the dugout, 8 guys in the bullpen, whatever. Those are the guys. Like when I'm playing, like working, I guess in a way, like that's the only guys I try to surround myself with.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what's it makes so special, right? I mean, I talked to some of these
Yeah.
guys, and they're like, oh, yeah, my favorite thing you get the MLB debut patch. There's all that cool stuff, and you know,
Yeah.
have you thought about what walk up song you'd roll with though?
I have not, honestly. It's gonna be a very last minute thing, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I
Now,
it might be something I start to brainstorm now, I guess.
yeah, I
Let's
mean,
go ahead
hey,
and
the
let's
number,
have it ready for early April or mid-March, I guess, in this
yeah.
sense.
And we'll have plenty of time to kind of get there and kind of talk about that stuff. But one thing I would ask you too is look, there's no doubt about it that this is an organization that they have developed talent that has helped them win championships. The Will Smiths, the Walker Buellers, the list goes on and on. They had talent
Yeah.
elsewhere. They're always linked to guys in trades. And recently, Diego Cartaya, a former top prospect, he gets traded. He's your teammate. What was your reaction to that? I mean, did you have any thoughts on that? Just kind of like, is it kind of one of those, oh, baseball is a business type moments that it kind of really hits?
Yeah, I mean, that's to a T. Baseball is an actual business. You see it more and more the longer you play, I guess. And losing Diego, man, Diego is one of the best people. Don't even talk like baseball player. He is like what everyone knows he is. But as a person, he was a good guy to be surrounded by. Get to work with every day, most of the days of last year, and it's uh it's a new opportunity for him. That's the way you look at it in baseball, and I think it's a very exciting opportunity for him, and I hope nothing but the best for him.
Absolutely. I
And
mean, yeah.
everyone sees everyone in this game, so that won't be the last time seeing Diego.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's kind of one of those things that I always kind of look at you guys like, man, you guys have got it good because you got the best coaching, the development. But then, man,
Yeah,
when you see some of these homegrown talents guys go to other teams, it's almost like, man, you want to see the homegrown
absolutely.
guys come up and have success.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can only imagine from a fan base, what that feels like, but I think it's the Dodgers fan base's job to understand the situation, and those are guys you root for, you know? Like, a lot of those guys that go to other teams from the Dodgers have very, very long, successful careers. It's been shown.
Exactly, exactly. And I don't even want to mention them because it kind of hurts a little bit. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you kind of root for those guys no matter what, 100%. And you look at, though, I kind of want to go back a little bit to the defense. And one thing I want to ask you is, I mean, you play left field, you play the corner outfield spot, you play catcher for so long. Is it get to a point where you're like, man, I kind of like it out here? I mean, it kind of takes a little less stress off. I mean, you're not engaged in every single pitch as far as being the catcher out there, and you kind of focus on
Yeah.
hitting and defense. Or is it I'm a catcher at heart? That's kind of where my passion is.
Yeah, I think it's pretty unique. I think it's pretty cool. I think going out there is more of an opportunity to think of the game as a catcher from somewhere else
Oh,
besides
that's
catching.
cool. Yeah.
So I kind of flipped the script a little bit on it. Obviously, you're not going to execute as much as you execute behind the plate out there from like predicting pitches, understanding what's going to be thrown. That's kind of the difference I tried to make in the outfield. It's like, all right, like as a catcher right now, what would I call? What am I calling right here? What are the outcomes of this to happen? What are the outcomes of this to happen? You know, and I think that was kind of one of my development pieces out there because it helped me with situations, helped me with like where to set up, whatever, whatever. But no, I would never say that I like it more out there ever than behind the plate. I think something I take a lot of pride in is the leadership side of things when I am back there over a period of time. Obviously, comfort and trust is one of the biggest things in this sport between a pitcher and a catcher. And so I understand those things. But yeah, I love competing behind the plate. It's something that I've loved for a really long time.
So it sounds like to me, it's hey, I just want to come up, help this team any way I can. If you need me at left, fine. If you need me at
Yeah,
first, fine. If
absolutely.
you need me at catcher, fine. I just want to find a spot on this roster and competing at the
Yeah.
highest level.
Exactly. Yeah, it's more this is something I've looked forward to since 4 or 5 years old, you know? So whatever opportunity gets in front of me, it's something I'm gonna try and grab and run away with.
Yeah, and one thing I'll ask you too is you won the Branch Rickey Award and you had time at Dodger Stadium. What do you remember from that
Mhm.
experience and just how cool is that to be able to experience that, be at Dodger Stadium and win that prestigious award?
Yeah, it's cool. You get, like, the full experience, you talk to the guys, you hang around the guys, watch them take BP, you get the award in front of Dodger Stadium, packed Dodger Stadium at that. So, yeah, it's a cool experience. It's basically you're like, "Alright, let's." My mindset was this award is great, and, like, you look at the past people that have won this award, it's just all-star, big leaguer, just big name in baseball, one after another. So that right there, it says everything for itself. But I think like the biggest thing was, hey, you get to see it from hopefully one last perspective. not being as a player, you know? That's kind of how I looked at it. And it kind of lines up my whole path, like how everything's played out. So I think of it all as like a journey. So it's now there's one last piece put in the puzzle to finish the journey, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, there was some talk late last season, maybe you find a spot on that postseason
Yeah.
roster. So clearly you're right there. But just being so close, it's got to feel like, man, like this is the year for Dalton Rushing. Now I want to ask you, do you have, I mean, 2025 will be a successful season for Dalton Rushing if just kind of fill in that blank there.
Yes. I don't like to think of it like that. If I just, you know, I'm gonna do my best as a player to find success no matter where I'm at. Um, but as everyone knows, I love winning, and I think the winningest team that we're gonna have in this organization is probably the one that wins the most games every year in the big leagues. So I think the sooner I see those opportunities arise, I think the more success I find from this year.
Yeah, and it's going to be a great year. We're so excited. We're going to be there for your debut. We know it's coming in. Yeah, I mean, get ready, man. The bright lights, Dodger Stadium, Dodgers Nation is so excited for you to make that debut, Dalton. And we will catch up with you sometime during spring training. Thanks for all the time, man. And yeah, man, hope you enjoy the rest of your offseason because it's about to get crazy pretty soon, my man.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.